Giuliani, this is America's Mayor Live. Well, this is Monday, and we're going to start off a new week. The president is still in Asia, right? And signed another peace deal. Well, actually formalized a peace deal that he had worked out earlier in Cambodia with, and was highly praised by the Prime Minister of Cambodia, who is probably about the 100th person to nominate him for the Peace Prize, right? And also meeting with the new Prime Minister, and who is a very, very close ideologically to us, to the president, to the things that certainly I think about the need to defend yourself against China. So I would say that this will end up being another very, very successful trip when he comes back. He also had the good news this weekend of his close friend and our ally, the president of Argentina, Javier Milei, winning a very, very big victory in the congressional election. Remember, it was feared that he was going to lose, that it would reverse to a very large extent the tremendous gains that he's made in straightening out the economy and getting inflation down in Argentina and getting them to live within their means. His austerity experiment, a lot of the press said, had backfired on him. Of course, that's what they were hoping, that it would backfire on him, because he is a conservative and they're all crazy socialist, communists, and just plain idiots. Well, he won. Not only did he win, he doubled the representation of his party in Congress. That's a pretty strong win, and the president can take a little credit for that, if not a lot, because he came here last week, and we extended him a tremendous amount of credit so that his government would be able to not be in jeopardy of defaulting in any way. And I think that that not only had the practical effect of helping them, I think it gave the people of Argentina the sense that, the United States was behind them, was with them. Now, this is really important because we do have a creeping left-wing problem in South America. And that's very, very dangerous to us because China is trying very hard to accomplish in South America what they almost accomplish in Africa. And that is to have inroads in certain countries. We know in Venezuela they do. We have several communist heads of state in South America. This one could be the half-wit in Colombia is another one that's a problem for us. So Argentina, being one of the really potentially richest, along with Venezuela, country in South America and Colombia, this is quite a good piece of news. It also looks like the TikTok deal has been done, with China pulling itself out of any kind of control or getting any information from them, and a completely and totally American company being set up. So that's a movement forward, and also moving us very, very close to a trade deal with China, where we would have fair tariffs and not their imposing tremendous burdens on us and are not imposing burdens on them. You know that that the whole shutdown issue turns very, very much on healthcare, and what you should know is that the healthcare that's at issue is the extended healthcare that was provided for the pandemic, but also Then in the opposite named Anti-Inflation Act, the Pro-Inflation Act, it was put up to 500% of poverty. It's administered in a way in which people who can work and don't, who are not entitled to Medicaid, get it. People who are working and are supposed to get health insurance from their employers get it. And then there's a tremendous amount of fraud that we're just beginning to get our hands on, where people where phony accounts, anonymous phony accounts are set up. And the unwillingness to extend the act is really, number one, for that reason. But number two, it was never intended to be permanent. It was a 3 or 4 year act to get through an emergency. And of course, this is the problem with the government. The Democrats convince you to put something in for 1 or 2 years, then it's there forever. And that's how we have such a significant debt. And the debt is a national security problem because it inhibits the amount of money that you can spend on defending yourself, which, given what China is trying to do, we're going to have to do. We have to spend a tremendous amount of money on our Navy to get it to a point where China doesn't have the biggest Navy in the world. At this point, we have the most competent, the most capable, the most sophisticated, but not the biggest. And if we let them keep growing and we keep falling back, we're going to end up with them having more naval power than we do. And this is something enormously important to us because we have to exert that power in 2 oceans, both the Atlantic and the Pacific, as we are doing right now in Venezuela. And of course, there are people opposed to that. Those are the people who are in favor of fentanyl, drug dealing, terrorism, communism. He's knocking drug boats out of the water. When did anybody ever complain about a president knocking drug boats out of the water?
Right. When was that like a problem?
I don't know. I mean, they want to declare war. I mean, the drug war. When Nixon called it the drug war, that was a term, a general term. It's not like a war against the Nazis or a war against the communists. This is a necessary action that the president has the right to take in order to protect us against lethal and dangerous drugs coming into our country and lethal and dangerous people coming into our country. The country that probably has been the most criminals that have done the most damage to this country is Venezuela. It almost seems that 1 out of every 2 of the rapists and murderers is from Venezuela. And it's quite clear that Maduro emptied his prisons, followed the example of the elder communist Castro, who did that I guess to Jimmy Carter. So we're going to have a very important guest shortly, Greg Carton. And a New York sports expert, and we want to get his views on this basketball scandal, because every indication now, having read the 2 indictments and whatever I can about this, every indication is that this is, how would we say, big, or as the president used to say, huge. This looks like it. These were not the only 3 or 4 basketball personalities involved in this, and there was an interview with NBA star Rasheed Wallace, a former Detroit Piston, I'm sure who you'd remember, right? And a teammate of Chauncey Billups, who is the player and the coach, who is now he's not in the fixing game or fixing performance indictment. He's in the gambling indictment. So you had 2 indictments. You had one indictment that that involves players taking actions that would assure that over-under bets were won. Now, you only can really assure that an under bet will win, right? Yeah. You can't, no matter how good you are, you can't be sure absolutely 100% that you're going to score X number of points plus. But you can be sure that you're not going to score. So let's say the over-under is 11. You can be sure you're not going to score 11 points. You can do it by making bad shots, or you can do it by pretending you're injured.
Right.
And that's exactly what the course that was taken in most cases. They would pretend injury. Right. And there are about 6 specific incidents that are listed in the indictment.
Well, Mayor, on that note, we have with us a very special guest. I believe you.
Man, my mic was off. I believe you actually maybe even golfed with him before.
Yes, oh sure. Yeah.
We have on the show with us. We're going to call him a sports expert, but he's also just a all-around radio personality. This man, one of a kind. I knew who he was growing up in Michigan. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Craig Carton.
Hi there. Great to be a part of it. And let me just say this. When we played that charity softball game, when NYPD lost a number of officers in the same week, we were honoring.
Thank you for doing that, by the way.
But you were funny because we had a set order for the lineup, and Mayor Giuliani decided whenever he wanted to, it's my turn to bat. And I was like, Mr. Mayor, you batted last inning. He goes, nah, I'm going to bat again right now. And I wasn't going to say no. And then I was playing golf at Liberty National with Boomer Esiason, my former radio host. And all of a sudden, an errant ball, we thought it was an errant ball, came right through our group.
I remember this.
That's right. So good to see you again, Mr. Mayor. How are you?
Are you over the injury now?
Yes. I did a backflip. So I got pulled out of the game by Tom Coughlin. Yes.
I was listening to you. I guess it was on Friday or Saturday, talking about the scandal, and I really thought nobody better than you to explain it to our audience. And also, this is only based on what I've read, including the indictments, and having written a lot of those things. That looks like that's really going to grow.
Yeah, I think it's the tip of the iceberg. And as you know, as a guy who used to do it for a living, when we first find out that someone's been indicted and or someone's been arrested, we don't really know all the goods that the feds have on them. Some of it comes out, a lot of it comes out in the indictment. But even then, we don't know all the information and evidence that they have. And this is a multi-year investigation. And what I learned firsthand is they don't attempt to get a grand jury indictment unless they think they've got every nail done in the coffin. These are not people that rush to indict typically, as you would know.
No.
So my feeling is that we're going to learn a lot more, certainly in the months and I think years to come as this thing plays out and gets adjudicated. But it's not the end of it. This is not going to end with Chauncey Billups or Terry Rozier or David Jones. There's going to be more guys implicated, whether they be athletes or not. And it's going to happen again, whether it happens as a connection to this case or as an independent case. This is not the last we're going to hear of a gambling scandal.
Well, I think there were two surprises. Most people can't understand how players like this, all of whom are making multiple millions of dollars, why they need this.
Well, that's a good question.
Why would they get involved? And second, this may answer the question. I was kind of interested in seeing that 4 of the 5 families that I put away 25 years ago were involved in it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're involved in both cases or just how deep this goes into organized crime. Certainly, it's a part of it. To answer the first question, it's a great question. For people not familiar with gambling, it's a great question. If a guy's made over $100 million and in Rozier's case was going to make another $26 million this year, why do it? And there's actually an answer to it. And I guess to be fair, there's multiple answers to it. One is they're compulsive gamblers and addicted to the action. And however money they're making on the side with their real job is completely irrelevant to their desire to gamble. I live this. I did it quite famously. It played out, obviously, the New York papers. I was making a lot of money, and yet I still had this insatiable desire to play blackjack as often as I could, 7 days a week if possible. And that became the number one priority for me partially because you're chasing the action, and partially because it feeds your ego. I've never met a compulsive gambler that's not an egomaniac, specifically centered around the gambling. The other part, and the one that we don't pay enough attention to, is the outside forces that we couldn't possibly relate to based on our upbringings that a lot of professional athletes do have, which is hanger-ons, friends from childhood, family members that now see them as the golden ticket. So play this out.
Yeah.
You're a wealthy basketball player and you're sick and tired of a certain guy or a couple guys always asking you for money or for a handout. And you don't want to write another check. But you know the guy's desperate, he can't pay his rent, he's got kid problems, girl problems, whatever it might be. You might say to the guy quite flippantly, I'm not giving you more money, but next Tuesday, bet the under on me. I promise you, you put as much money as you need in your bank account. And I'm being somewhat glib about that, but that's real. And Michael Porter spoke to that, where if I've got a quote unquote, his words, not mine, a homie, someone he grew up with who's in financial, in a bad spot financially, and I don't want to write him a check out of my bank account, it's easy for me to say, hey, by the way, I know that my starting point guard's not playing tonight. So do what you got to do, but it's a guarantee. And that type of trading of information is what we're going to see a lot more of. And I think it's going to be a part of this case as well.
I thought you had an interesting recommendation, which is that they should change that bet.
Yep.
Did you say they should only allow betting on
overs
the
only?
Over, because you can't, you really can't control the over.
You just said it. Leading into my appearance here, you're right. If you're going to bet what's called a prop wager, I mean, I'm going to now wager, excuse me, on the specific outcome of an individual stats. The only stat that a player can control is the under. Like you said, 11 points, your example. I can guarantee you that I don't score 11, but I can't guarantee you that I score more than 11.
Right.
So
right.
if the leagues, and this will never happen because there's too much money at stake, if they really wanted to clean up the gambling aspect of sports, it's not that hard to do it. Over bets only. A. Number two, I would cease immediately all in-game wagering. And what that means is I can literally bet on what happens on the next possession in a football game, a basketball game. On every single play, I can put money on it. Well, let's take that out so the player's not aware from a guy in the stands, hey, I need you to miss the next shot so I can cash out my parlay. If we eliminate that and we eliminate under wagers, we at least have taken a small step towards fixing this. Now, the big thing for me, and you see this with the more prominent players in all leagues, prominent players in leagues are allowed to endorse and market legalized gaming sites. I see no reason why that should be allowed.
I don't
because like, for example, Kevin Durant is with FanDuel. LeBron James is with DraftKings. I'm not accusing either of those men of doing anything untoward, but if we're concerned about the image of the sport and the integrity of the sport, if I've got an active player who's now making millions of dollars from the sports book, it's not a leap of faith to suggest something untoward could happen. So let's eliminate the opportunity.
Well, now, how did the professional sports leagues turn around on this? I go back to Paul Hornung being suspended when he was the golden boy, one of the best players in football, or Joe Namath having to give up his interest in a bar, and
the Black Sox.
League, the NBA was rigid. Really, you couldn't even associate with these people. Or how about Mays and Mantle, because they went to did something in Atlantic City. Baseball wouldn't have them participate in something.
I'll give you one better. Tony Romo, who's now a broadcaster for CBS, who's famously a quarterback for the Cowboys, someone was offering him an appearance fee to go make an appearance in a Las Vegas casino. This is going back 10, 15 years now. And the NFL forbid it. He wasn't allowed to walk foot into the casino because of the image of having an active player in a casino. What changed was money. The NFL for a very long time, before Chris Christie passed the law in New Jersey first, which set the stage for 37 other states to legalize online wagering, before that happened, the NFL spent north of $100 million on lobbyists in Washington, D.C. to make sure legalized gambling on the NFL never happened. Roger Goodell, quite famously, there's a quote attributed to him, you could Google it for sure, your producers can, where he was concerned about the integrity of the league. Right. And then all of a sudden, 38 states allow it legally. And now there's hundreds of millions of dollars coming into the NFL's coffers. Well, you know this as well as I do. The NFL has 32 extraordinarily greedy owners, and they would sell their own grandmas for another dollar. So if
Yeah.
you say to an NFL owner, we're going to guarantee you guys hundreds of millions of more dollars in your back pocket, I've never met an NFL owner that would say no to that. And that's why we're at where we're at.
And is the NFL? There was an article today, kind of blaming it on Silver more than anyone else. That he was the first.
Yeah,
one
that's misplaced. Actually, I give Adam Silver credit, and here's why. The only way that these names came out, Chauncey Billups, Rozier, Damon Jones, etc., is because the NBA was diligent. So I'll just give you a quick lesson in this. So the sports books that have contracted to do business on professional sports, they've all agreed to hire an independent company that tracks all wagers. So if not for legalized gaming and gambling, we never would have known that this scandal was happening. The only reason we know about it is that failsafe they've put into place, the independent company that monitors wagers, they flagged the ridiculous wagering on Rozier's under bets, his prop bets. They immediately flagged the bets. They reached out to the NBA. The NBA suspended the player without telling the public why. And then the NBA gets in touch with the feds and says, look, we have a potential scandal on our hands. This is the information we have. Now, the NBA investigated, but as you know, the NBA doesn't have subpoena power and can't go as in-depth in their investigation as the federal government can. But without legalized gambling, if this was still a back alley type of thing, a mob-led thing, a street bookie type thing, the stuff that you fought for so long as mayor and prior to mayor, you know what you did in New York City, we never would have found out about it. So I do credit Adam Silver and the NBA for being forthright once they got the information and making sure a thorough investigation was done. And people have lost sight of that. I give the NBA credit for self-policing.
Well, that's very interesting. I mean, the biggest problem with legalized gambling, like legalized marijuana, people think that if you legalize it, you're going to limit it. Just the opposite. If you legalize it, like marijuana, the use of marijuana has probably quadrupled in the period of time since it's been legalized. And I'm talking about illegal, because the illegal operation competes with the legal operation. Same thing with gambling. You're beginning at about 12 years old, developing a desire to gamble, and the kids that are watching football games. When I was watching football games with my father, there weren't gambling ads on.
Right. Well, here's the other thing. You have fathers desperately trying to bond with their teenage sons now. Sports is the common denominator. It connects generations.
Sure.
And what you're seeing a lot now because of the legalization is a dad will open up a legal account to wager with his son watching Sunday football or any night of the week basketball, let's say. And then what happens on Monday? The father goes to work. Well, the son now has access to that gambling account. And when they lose a wager, the son, who's now being groomed to become a compulsive gambler, has no concept of losing because the father pays the bill. And then I've seen the kids I counsel to this day wind up getting really in way too deep financially, and the father's completely unaware of what the son's doing because he just did a $50 wager for fun to bond with his son on a Sunday. And little does he know that the kid's now becoming a gambling addict behind his back on a legal site that the father signed up for. And that's happening in real time right now.
So, I mean, in fact, this addiction is probably one we didn't really concentrate on very much when it was illegal.
And we still don't. And it's becoming an epidemic. The suicide rate of gambling addicts is more than double alcoholics and drug addicts. And we're the only addiction where we add a stigma of an adjective in front of it. So a drug addict's just a drug addict, an alcoholic's just an alcoholic. But God forbid you become a compulsive gambler like I did, you're a degenerate.
Is that right?
And there's yes, you're called a degenerate gambler.
Right.
You're not called a compulsive gambler.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So one of the upsides of the legalization and the mainstream conversation about gambling is that fast forward, let's say a decade from now, it's every night dinner table conversation, which should, fingers crossed, make it easier for a young person or anyone who recognizes, hey, I've got a problem, to raise their hand and now ask for help without being worried about the stigma associated with being an addict. And I think we'll get there. And we make a comparison all the time in my world. If you go back 25 years, it wasn't cool to have a designated driver. If I drank too much, I'm probably going to drive home anyway.
Right.
And we got to a place because of the work that the beer companies put into it to try to change that narrative and make it cool to get a designated driver. Now, to be totally fair, Uber's helped that immensely. You can get a ride home. But the reality is that it's not cool to tell people you're a compulsive gambler. And we hope to get to a place where you can say that and get the help that you need. And I'll give you an example. I went to rehab in Prescott, Arizona back in 2018. When I went there, there were 3 rehab centers in the country for gambling. One in Minnesota, one in West Virginia, and one in Prescott, Arizona. 3 in the entire country. Now, there's a few more now, but not nearly enough to handle the amount of compulsive gamblers that there are.
Yeah, I don't think it is recognized as clearly as the other addictions, even now.
No.
No.
The medical textbooks have acknowledged it, but the public hasn't.
This may help. This may be one of the good things that comes out of the case. Well, Greg, that was a terrific explanation. And thank you very, very much. It's great to see you.
Thank you.
Hope to see you soon.
Good to see you too. You look good.
You want to ask some questions?
I want to ask one question. We got the mayor here, well-known Giants fan. We saw Scadaboo go down. What can you tell the mayor, Craig, about the Giants' outlook for this year, maybe in the near future? Can you give him anything to cheer him up here?
Not for this year, but now don't forget, you're talking to a Jets fan, so you're in a better place than I am. But it looks like, I'll say this, it looks like you got a quarterback. And it all starts with having a quarterback. So this year's a wrap, but who knows, maybe next year.
Yeah.
I don't feel bad for you, though. I'm a Jets fan. Like I don't feel bad for any fan of any team that loses, because all I got in my life is rooting for losing teams, man. So you have to suck it up like I do.
And my last question is: it true?
He's a Packer fan. This guy.
Part owner.
He's a part owner.
Yeah.
But my last question: is it true that Mayor Giuliani got a lot of respect, even from Mets fans, for not doing the 2-hat thing? Right, when he was mayor, he didn't try to. He didn't try to pander.
Well, look, I think that's why you know as America's mayor. And one of the great things about your stewardship of New York City when you were mayor was that you were unabashedly a New York Yankee fan, and you never try to play the political game of, oh, the Mets are in the World Series, so I'm going to root for the Mets. You never played that game. And that's why sports fans always respected you.
You know when I rooted for the Mets? When Yogi Berra was the manager and they were in the World Series.
You are not that old.
Every game. And Yogi, do you know Yogi Berra got fired twice as a manager? Both times he had taken his team to 7 games in a World Series.
He got fired.
He got fired.
Yeah,
He didn't come back for 12 years.
Let me just say this.
5 years.
Don't tell Aaron Boone that.
I think I know where you're going with that. We'll have you back.
Yeah, we'll stay in touch.
Anytime. Look forward to it.
God bless you.
And you can watch Craig. Check him out on social media, Craig Carton Live and the Craig Carton Show. Check him out. He is.
You're going to want to talk to him. That was about as good an explanation as you're going to get of what's going on here. Both sides of it.
That's right.
So let's take a break now.
Yeah.
And we'll be back very shortly.
We'll be right back.
He was damn good. Real professional. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month.
Wow.
Including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news, even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax, channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly, where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're gonna go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
And we're back.
Welcome back to America's Mayor Live. And but it looks beautiful in the background there, doesn't it?
That does look very fall scenery.
Yeah,
that's not a live shot. That's a mix of like.
I wonder what's going to happen to it if it becomes a communist city. You know how ugly all those communist cities look.
Well, they're gonna
even years after. It takes a while to fix them up.
That Soviet style architecture.
Yeah.
A lot of right angles.
I'll tell you, the Chinese
big block buildings.
The Chinese do a good job of hiding. The Chinese make their cities. They try to invest a lot of money in their cities, even though their people are starving.
Right. I'll put it on over.
So our friends at the National Council of Resistance of Iran have pointed out that was it last month? Last month was 280 people were hung in Iran, which is double the number of the same period in 2024. And 36 of them were women and 6 were children that were hung. And from March to October of this year, a record 1,135 people have been hung. This doesn't count the ones they shoot down in the street. So why is that happening? Well, the NCRL says it's happening because the regime is in grave jeopardy, which you never hear here because somehow I understand the Marxist influence on this country and how, you get people like Mondami, who's a socialist and communist, and you get a lot of these Democrats, whether they know it or not, that are Marxist. I do not understand this affection for the reign of terror for Iran. I mean, the press favors them. Obama and Biden gave them billions of dollars, including Obama in cash. They are brutal terrorist murderers, the biggest in the world. The single biggest sponsor of terrorism in the world is the Ayatollah. If you give him money, some of that money goes to kill innocent people, including Americans. How can an American president or 2 of them give them money? And how can the press cover? Like, you're not going to read this in the New York Times. You're not going to read that for some reason there's been a 2 times increase in the number of executions in Iran over the last year. Well, that tells you something about a country. If they've doubled the number of people they're hanging. And they don't keep count of the number of people they kill in the street. So you might as well double that number.
Right.
The reason is that they are in grave jeopardy. They are very worried they're going to be overthrown. And it'd be a real blessing from God if they were overthrown, because they are the single biggest obstacle to peace in the Middle East. No matter what we do, they will find ways to try to upset it, because they are dedicated, truly dedicated, religiously, to the destruction of the state of Israel.
Right. And Mayor,
or their religion.
Do you feel that if we were more open about, if our own government was open about Iran's influence and their actions in killing American service members during, of course, the Iraq War, and in other times, that we'd have more public pressure to take out the Ayatollah?
I know this in negotiating for or helping MEK and NCRI, the State Department. It's like, the communist infiltration we used to have, or still have, maybe. The State Department is filled with people that are sympathetic to Iran.
Right.
And look at the crazy treaty we did that Trump had to throw out. And just because President Trump is there doesn't mean that these characters
they're still around. They're still within our government, right? At the State Department in different places. And Marco Rubio is great. Marco Rubio is doing a stand-up job.
Exactly.
It's such a big.
The thing that I can't get at is what's the reason why they're so sympathetic to Iran? They're sympathetic to communism because a lot of them are trained that way in school.
Right.
The communists infiltrated educational system in the 1930s.
Right.
And have done a magnificent job of making an awful lot of our kids and professors Marxists.
That's right.
But I don't think Iran did that.
Iran didn't do it, but our
hatred of our country.
Right. And the legacy media and elements of pop culture in this country have certainly not helped. If anything, they've created additional anti-American sentiment among our own population.
Well, we've got 3 big elections going on, even though this is an off year. And they happen every off year right after the presidential election.
Right.
I got elected a year after Bill Clinton was elected. And the year I was elected, all 3 seats were won by Republicans in New Jersey and in Virginia. So the one in New York seems to be getting the most attention,
right?
Largely because this guy's off the charts. He's off any rational, sensible chart of any kind. They do concentrate on his being a communist, but I'll tell you what worries me more. He's an Islamic extremist. Every single position he takes is in favor of Islamic extremism. And if you consider that the Muslim religion, the Islamic religion, whichever you prefer, so you could divide into 3, right? You got a whole bunch of people who are Muslim and Islamic who aren't religious, just like you have a lot of Christians that aren't, a lot of Jews that aren't, a lot of everything. They are that religion, but they don't practice it or they don't know much about it. So you have that whole group. So you put them over in one place.
Right.
Then you have the group that are religious, either very religious or, enough so that they feel a dedication to the religion. And here's where I think our problem started with them, meaning America. I also believe my church, the Catholic Church, has a problem with the Muslim religion of being too euphemistic about it. George Bush's statement in 2001, Islam is basically a peaceful religion. Actually, what the president should have said is, Islam is basically a warrior, violent religion. The exception has been the one who turns their back on what the Quran tells them to do.
Right.
So if I'm going out and I'm advocating for the elimination of the Jewish people, or I'm a Muslim in Africa causing all the wars in Africa against the Christians in Africa, I'm doing what Muhammad told me to do. And we don't have the guts to say that.
Right.
We do this thing where they're just like everybody else. They are not just like everybody else. Moses didn't. The 10 Commandments don't tell you to go kill every Christian, go kill every pagan, go kill every right. They tell you not to kill. Jesus forgave the people who killed him.
Right.
So those two religions are quite a bit different, and so are the Eastern religions. They're all very teaching you to do good things.
Right.
Well, when Muhammad turned, he turned completely. He turned into a mass murderer, and he instructed his people to spread the religion by warfare.
That's right, Mayor.
Warfare by killing.
And why is it that in America, it's not that we just ignore it, but Islam,
it's right in the Quran. You get the 5th book of the Quran out and read it.
But Islam's almost in a protected class. You can't, right? In this country, you're not allowed to draw images of Muhammad, for example, right? But you're allowed to, they can make fun of nuns, Christianity, Judaism, but
so
Islam seems to be in the separate protected
remember
class.
when I got into a lot of trouble with the New York left-wing atheist slime on the New York Times, when I took the money away from the Brooklyn Museum, who had an exhibit where they had a painting of the Blessed Virgin Mary with cow dung or elephant dung on her.
Right.
It was refreshed every couple of days. And I said, "What are you, crazy?" I mean, among other things, it's not very healthy. So you either get rid of that or I'm going to take your money away. And I took their money away, and the New York Times said I was restricting free speech. Well, I wasn't restricting free speech. I had to protect a year before. I think it was at the Whitney Museum, where they had the Piss Christ. So this guy did a painting of, I think it was Jesus on the cross urinating.
Yeah.
I had to protect it because it was in a private museum, and they had every right to do that. And of course, a lot of people wanted to go bust the thing up.
Yeah.
So I had to use police to protect them, to mock my religion.
Right.
Now, right before I took the money away from the Brooklyn Museum, they had done a thing of Muhammad, and they found there's an old painting, the accuracy of which the painting's accuracy could be debated, not the fact. It shows Muhammad at a mass grave of Jewish people and him throwing the bodies in the grave. And that was a painting of Muhammad.
Yeah.
That's about 1,000 years old. And they had done a reproduction of it, and they had it on an exhibit.
Yeah.
And the city of Chicago had to close it down. They had to close it down. It just happened to be true.
But when it's Islamophobia, when you say anything or depict anything against Islam,
that was his
free speech if it's Christianity or against Judaism.
Yeah, Muhammad killed thousands of people. And he as far as I know, he started the practice of the mass grave,
right?
Which Hitler used,
right?
But if you do that, you're condemned. You're threatened with death.
Are you xenophobic? Does that word apply here? We're not sure, right? That's a new word that they came up with about 10 years ago. Did you ever hear of xenophobia before Trump?
No, but I have it. I was told I have it by the Democrats. I have xenophobia, and I try to get treated for it, but nobody seems to know how to treat it. Yeah. I'm also a racist, but it doesn't bother me what color your skin is.
Right.
You can be a good person or a bad person.
Right.
All I care about is what batting average you have. And what they say about Trump is, he does discriminate based on color. Green.
right. Look, very American and
that kills me about Trump, because I know him like almost 40 years, and it's the least. I mean, he had black friends, white friends, all kinds of friends from the day I knew him.
Right. Nobody questioned that before you
got into politics. What you learn over a period of time is they're the racist.
Oh, 100%. 100%. They're the ones that want us to keep focusing on race. They're the ones that keep bringing up race. We don't bring it up.
Malcolm X wrote that the single biggest problem for the African American in the United States is the white liberal.
Yep.
The white liberal. They're the ones holding us back.
100%.
By making them dependent, because they need their vote. So they try to make as many as possible dependent.
And then you get the race baiters in Congress, and that's all they focus on.
So all I get asked now, no matter what's going on, the president can do 3 peace treaties. I think we could end up with peace in the Middle East and peace in Ukraine. And all people ask you about is Mondani.
Oh yeah,
Mamdani,
you're getting asked a lot about
Mamdani. How could there be a Mamdani?
it. Right.
Well, I mean, how could Chicago have a Democrat mayor for 65 years? And
Right.
every Saturday in Chicago, there's a killing spree.
Right.
So we could see what it was. We probably don't have the numbers out until tomorrow.
But even with Lori Lightfoot, and now Brandon Johnson, they went from bad to worse, despite all the issues.
Well, they picked the worst.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that they had 4 or 5 candidates in the primary.
they picked the worst,
and they went from a crazy, racist, nutty, dopey mayor to an even worse racist, crazy, dopey mayor.
Is it voter apathy combined with a crooked media? What is it, Mayor? How does this continue to happen?
Well, New York is. I mean, New York doesn't have 65 years in a row, but New York has 170 years of Democratic control, with a few interruptions with a Republican or independent here or there. And that's the only time the city's honest. I mean, the city is New York City is a thoroughly dishonest government from top to bottom, including the judges.
And Mayor, what do you think of this question? I'm curious on yours specific, and a lot of people are, right? One of the lines we've heard repeatedly this summer with Curtis Sliwa, we like Curtis, but he's a Republican. A Republican can't win in New York. Meanwhile, we had 2 Republicans win in the last 30 years. Michael Bloomberg, of course, he ran as a Republican in 2001. And then this other guy named Rudy Giuliani that we've heard about, who won in 1993 and 1997 re-election as Republicans. So what is your reaction? What has been your reaction when you hear that?
As you know, I gave a lot of thought because I don't want to see Mamdani be the mayor, and I gave a lot of thought to supporting Cuomo, although I've supported Curtis, from the time he was a baby, right? And with the Guardian Angels, and then when he ran, and he'd be far better mayor than Cuomo.
Right.
And then I decided, no, we got to look at the long. We got to look at the long road here. Right. You can't just give up on your principles.
Right.
The only way we're ever going to have a change in New York is if we stick with our principles. Right. If we accept half or a third or whatever,
right,
we're never going to develop a Republican Party. What about all the down ballot people that are on that party? If Curtis were to drop out, we only have 6 people in the city council. We go down to 3.
Right.
I think if the Republican Party got to Reagan through Goldwater, through Goldwater losing, and then the party built and built and built and built, but it didn't go endorse Democrats.
Yeah. Right.
So I also think it's going to take a miracle for this to happen. And if it could be a miracle, it's just as likely that there could be a major switch for Sliwa.
Right.
Look at the poll where Sliwa does 2 points better.
Yep.
Head to head.
We have that
against Mamdani.
Right. So we're gonna bring that poll up, the one the mayor's talking about. We talked about it Friday. We want to show you the numbers here. And as the mayor, here it is. So in this poll, this is from late last week. It has Mamdani up on Cuomo and Sliwa, but when you put Mamdani in a head-to-head, he's up 10 on Cuomo and just 8 on Sliwa. So some people are thinking, Mayor, is there a scenario where?
Yeah, there is. I mean, if people are going to break away from Mamdani, it's going to be a big emotional move. Some revelation will be the straw that breaks the camel's back. Right. Maybe this imam that he was with, and then they're going to drop off him. And I think it's more likely they would go to Sliwa than Cuomo.
When you won, Mayor, 1.9 million people voted. And at that time, I would consider it an existential threat to the city, right? Such high crime, such a filthy city, much more than even right now. Would you agree? In 1993.
Yeah. The condition of the city was much worse.
Yes.
In this particular case,
it's a different
candidate
threat.
Is much
exactly.
Worse.
So now
the candidate is a
existential threat in a different way.
Is an absolute communist.
Right.
And communists want to see the change and destruction of the United States. And he is a supporter of Islamic terrorism.
Right. And in the past 3 elections in New York, about 1.1 million people came out. So when you ran and won, we saw an increase of 800,000, right? A huge increase. And there was an existential threat to the city.
There are a couple of 100,000 people.
Yeah.
That don't vote anymore, maybe a little more than that.
Right.
Who, if motivated, they could change the election.
Could come out. And when you have such a low turnout, right? Anything is possible if one of the candidates can mobilize new voters.
I've never seen the kind of revelations about a candidate like this guy.
Right.
Shall we put him on talking about his auntie?
Yeah. Well, we got to bring that up. Yes, we'll have that on momentarily. We have one of our laptops are down for the night, so we're on one laptop tonight.
Is the auntie one down?
No,
his poor
our
auntie?
ability to play clips is complicated, but we're gonna do
poor
it.
Auntie?
Right. And of course, so we'll find that clip. We had Mom Donnie responding to criticisms from others over his relationships with people connected to 9/11. And what you had was Mom Donnie really working out the tears, right? Really getting himself. Is he an actor? Is he an actor?
No, I think he's a kid.
Because he was really working on his ability to cry here.
How about his meeting with Imam Wahhabi?
Yes,
who was an unindicted co-conspirator in the 1993 bombing of the World Trade Center when 6 people were killed.
Right.
Also was a witness for the blind sheikh who killed numerous people, got 100 years in jail.
Right.
Also proclaimed that the U.S. and Israel were responsible for the September 11 attacks.
Right.
So Mondani, who I guess you want to find out if he's a Muslim. You have 2 kinds of Muslims, right? You have the Muslims who are peaceful. You have the Muslims who are devoted to extremism and violence.
Right.
What kind is he? He's the second kind, because the people he associates with and the things he says tell you that he's the second kind.
Right.
The imam that he praised is well known being anti-Semitic, being anti-American, for praising people who attacked us, and even praising suicide bombers. And he not only met with him, he described him as one of the most influential imams in the United States.
Right.
Well, if one of the most influential imams in the United States is a thoroughgoing extremist and terrorist, then what side is he on?
Right. So here
also, you should know, because it was leaked, I guess it was leaked to the New York Post, a foreign intelligence report that imam is considered a threat to the national security of the United States.
So
this is the 4th person he's been very much involved with. That's a national security threat. Linda Sarsour is another one. That's a foreign security threat. She was his mentor.
Right. Right. Well, Mayor, should we? I've been talking with Team Curtis Leewad. Should we try to get him on?
Yeah.
All right. We'll work on that here right now. I'll let them know that we're not going to be on much longer. We got to get everyone over to Dr. Maria.
Get him over to the Dr.
on Lindell
Maria
TV. But let's hear. This is Mom Donnie late last week. You know what? Let's let the viewers watch this, and before I say anything, take a listen.
But I do not want to use this moment to speak to them any further. I want to use this moment to speak to the Muslims of New York City. I want to speak to the memory of my aunt. Who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab. I want to speak to the Muslim who works for our city. Whether they teach in our schools or walk the beat for the NYPD. New Yorkers who all make daily sacrifices for the city they call home, only to see their leaders spit in their face.
He only speaks to the Muslims. So first of all, when he said the memory,
that's awful.
Shut him up, all right?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, shut up. When he said the memory of his aunt, right? Didn't you think she died? She didn't go on the subway because she was afraid. Okay, let's assume that's true. We're going to tell you it isn't in a little while, but let's assume it's true. How does that compare to the people that were slaughtered in the name of Muhammad? The guy that he follows. I mean, these people didn't die because of the weather, and they didn't die because somebody didn't like New York. They died, Allah Akbar, in the name of Allah. They died because they were taught from the time they were children what the Quran says, that if they stand in your way, you got to kill the Jews and Christians. They were carrying out what they were religiously taught from the time they were children, which he supports. He supports that version of the religion. So that's nothing compared to if she didn't take the subway. A lot of people don't take the subway for a lot of reasons. Now, simple fact is that nobody bothered the Muslims. Some of them were spending too much time celebrating for anybody to bother them. And I know that because I put a task force together to protect them. And if you want to go back and get you'll hear me say, don't hurt anybody. We're not going to be like them. And after a week and a half, my police commissioner says, not necessary. We don't have any incidents. Nobody got hit. Nobody got hurt. I mean, they do a lot more hurting, hitting, and killing than happens to them. Yeah. It's like totally ridiculous to worry about Islamophobia when they want to wipe out the entire Jewish people, and they're wiping out every Christian they can find in Africa. And we're worried that she didn't go on a subway. Now, I would never accuse someone of lying, but it really would have been hard for her to go on the subway during that period of time because she was living in Tanzania.
Right. At least that's what she...
maybe there are subways in Tanzania and she was worried about those subways.
Right. So, I mean, what are the odds there? So we're talking, we'll see if we're just a minute away here. We're trying to get Curtis on. I know we just have a couple minutes left, Mayor. But we are trying to get Curtis. He wants to come on if he can.
The other two elections, and then we'll I think get Curtis on, or we'll sign off.
Yeah.
The other two elections you got to pay attention to if you live there or you want to make a contribution. So make a contribution to Curtis. I mean, he's got as good a chance as Cuomo. If it falls away from Mondami, what has to happen is everything that's been said about him, everything that we've learned about him, has to get to a breaking point. And there's enough here that can happen. I've never seen a candidate where there was as much proof that he's an enemy of the United States. And of course, of the city that he's in. I mean, his father is an avowed enemy of the United States. The people he associates with, the imam that he says is the most important imam, Linda Sassour, well known to the FBI. I've never seen anyone like this. He will not be able to get a security clearance. New York City will have a mayor that's flying blind. And he's about 12 years old too, right?
Right.
I mean, he was in the 4th grade when September 11 happened.
Right.
I mean, this is ridiculous. He doesn't know anything.
Right.
He never had a job. He comes from a very rich family. And he also, when I say he can't be a religious Muslim, he's got to be an extremist Muslim because he's in favor of legal prostitution.
Yeah.
I don't think Muhammad agreed with that, legal prostitution. He agreed with killing people, but not legal prostitution.
Yeah.
He agreed with mass graves, but not homosexuality.
Right.
And he's also, I think he's in favor of transgender. How long would they last in any of those Muslim countries?
Seconds. I mean, they wouldn't get there.
What kind of Muslim is? He's a make-believe Muslim, right?
Right.
I mean, the only part of the Muslim religion he seems to really pay attention to is the terrorist part.
Right.
Now, so why are you even considering voting for him? 44% of it? Where does he get that 44%? I know you can ask me. I'm the New Yorker, right?
Right, Mayor. I mean, I think people are asking you.
I don't know. I really
don't
know.
I'm also texting like
it's an illness. It's an illness. The whole Democratic control of our cities is an illness. It's a terrible illness that affects Black people more than anyone else.
Right.
And probably has held back the group in the cities. The ones that have gotten out of the cities have done terrific. But and it's also led to all of this illegal, all these illegal aliens.
Sorry, but your question was, how does Sliwa close the gap? You said 44%.
Yeah, no, the Sliwa isn't going to close the gap.
He has to incur. He has to get.
Nor is Cuomo. What's going to happen is Mamdani has to implode, and then those votes will fall away to one or the other.
But he's running scared. I don't see that happening because he's not going out there, right? He's playing it very safe. Mamdani, he's playing it safe. This guy hasn't inspired anyone new, right? He won the far left primary. He's now my reading of this thing this whole summer, right? He's not out there inspiring millions of people across the country or this or that. He's trying to get by, and maybe he's.
I don't think that's right. Did you see the rally that he had at the
in New York, right?
Tennis Stadium.
Sure. So Democrats can mobilize, and especially in a place like New York, they can mobilize tens of thousands of people on a dime. I'm not saying he hasn't inspired some, right? Obviously, this guy is on the verge of becoming mayor of the biggest city. But I think my hope is that Cuomo can eat into Mamdani's vote enough, right? Now that we have a three-way race, and it looks like it's going to be, hoping that Cuomo takes enough Democrats from Mamdani, where Mamdani has a ceiling, Cuomo has a ceiling, and Sliwa is able to get every Republican, a lot of the independents, and hopefully he can mobilize hundreds of thousands. I mean, it's a big number, right? This is a uphill battle, but hopefully he can mobilize hundreds of thousands of new voters. You know, people, I say first-time voters, but maybe voters who haven't voted since 1997 or 2001, right? When they voted for Bloomberg after 9/11.
I think there's only one overriding issue in the campaign.
Sure.
And the issue isn't Cuomo and it isn't Curtis, it's Mamdani.
Right.
You're either for him or against him. You either can accept all of these things said about him, and you're enough of a Democrat or Trump hater or Republican, you're going to vote for him, or it scares the living daylights out of you.
Right.
And you're going to vote against him. And then if you're going to vote against him, you're going to make a choice of which one of the two you go to.
And on that note,
and I think it's more likely they'll go to him. So
we have him right here with us. He always makes time for us. The one, the only, the Republican nominee for mayor of New York City, Curtis Sliwa.
Curtis?
Yes.
Curtis, too much headroom.
He's got a big head.
Bring that camera down. Bring that camera.
He's got a big head. The president said he's very smart.
He did?
Yep. So, Curtis, tell us how it's going.
Well, I was all throughout the 5 boroughs every day, Rudy. You'd make the 5-borough tour, 20 hours of a 24-hour day. We're 8 days out, and I'm in our Brooklyn headquarters on Flatbush Avenue. We have a number of Brooklyn headquarters, and this is Rudy Giuliani land. You go down Flatbush.
I used to live right near Flatbush Avenue.
We're going to put a statue up to you in Marine Park there, Rudy. We're right in the Marine Park. We're going to put
how long that lasts.
Yep. But the amount of support, because they equate me with what you did to save the city, the law and order that you brought.
Well, they should
still in the city, and I think everybody clearly saw in that debate when I was saying that Cuomo was the architect of no cash bail, which has led to this crime crisis, and clearly Mamdani is his apprentice. Raise the age. They're both in favor of that. And closing Rikers Island. That has led us to a complete catastrophe. And remember, you ran against the first prominent member of the DSA, Democratic Socialists of America. People don't realize that. I remind them, that was David Dinkins. He was proud of his DSA membership, and he basically paved the way for this new generation that has come in. Now we see the two faces, AOC and Zoran Mamdani, and you saw them at that rally last night at the Forest Hills Tennis Stadium, where they had all the young people there, all the young people looking for everything free, 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 and I'm telling them that is a fantasy, not a reality.
Right.
And they want to take on Trump, their whole thing, Rudy. And you know what the bottom line is. Zoran says, I want to bump chests with Donald Trump.
Well, that's, you remember when I was mayor, Clinton had just been elected.
Yes.
Right. I had to get along with him for the good of the city. And I did, because I had to. And We did a lot of things together. And then when I had to oppose him, I did. I sued him. But I mainly, you can't, the mayor of New York can't take on the president. That's ridiculous.
No.
You hurt the people in New York if you do that.
No. And Rudy, as you know, no matter how much you may disagree with the president of the United States, you have to show respect.
Of course.
You have to offer something in order to get something. Because the president obviously is already triggered to all of us the cuts that he wants to make with the federal money coming into this bloated bureaucracy. So you have to figure out in advance, what do I give in order to get? And you know Donald Trump, the president, better than anybody alive. He loves the art of the deal. And he loves, if you first defer to him, look at Zelensky, when he came charging into the White House, 72 hours, Zelensky realized, hey, if I don't show some respect to President Donald Trump, I'm going to be hurting the Ukrainian people. And he's been better off ever since. But both of them, they end up fighting with one another who's going to be tougher against Donald Trump. And as you know, Rudy, I'm the toughest guy of both of them. I'd be out of my mind to think I could be tough with the president of the United States. He holds us by the short hairs. He controls the financial pocketbook. You have to defer to the president. And he's a man who loves to be able to sit down and say, show me what you want, and I'll tell you what I need.
You know, he would actually, you do have an advantage. He really wanted to work with Adams very, very much. And he wanted to work even with crazy de Blasio. He's a New Yorker.
Of course.
And he still loves New York, and he would love to do some good things for New York. So, I mean, you're stupid not to get the best out of him you can get. But in any event, they don't think that way. You know that. It's all about them.
Well, I would tell him, Rudy, as I told him, and he wrote me a really great letter when I made this speech of how he helped save the Veterans Day Parade by providing the finance, because the city was suffering financially. He came in with a trough of money, kept the parade going at the level that it had. I praised him in front of the veterans groups. He wrote this great letter, you know, with his signature there. He could be nice to me on the radio. He thanked me profusely. But then again, something 2 years later happens. You have a disagreement, and that's what Donald Trump remembers at that moment. But I've always noticed the one thing you have to do with Donald Trump, and you know this better than anybody, is remember all the great things he did in New York City, the Women's Rink.
Sure.
How he wanted to take on rebuilding the Williamsburg Bridge, but Ed Koch said, you already embarrassed me with the ice rink. I'm not going to let you do that with the Williamsburg Bridge. Talk about all the great things, the West Side, you know, where he had all those Trump buildings. Gerald Nadler had taken him on, who tried to prevent him from building those magnificent buildings that so many people live in now that are liberal, progressive, and socialists in terms of their politics. I think if you remind Donald Trump of his legacy in New York before he was running for president, then he'll sit down with you and you'll have a really good conversation, because he'll say, you not only respect me, but you remember all the good things I did in New York when I was just citizen Trump.
Yep, absolutely right. And that's how a mayor has. That's how a mayor has to think. You've got to work with the governor. You got to work with the president. And if there are disagreements, well, you do what I did with Peter Vallone. You say, let's work on the things we agree on. Let's move ahead with the things we agree on. Well, Curtis, keep going. We'll keep having you on, and we'll keep pushing people. You have a question?
Well, Curtis.
I appreciate all your great support, Rudy. I hear about it everywhere I go in the campaign, including some of your naysayers who remember F Rudy and F you, Sliwa.
Curtis, and we'll talk to you a lot between now and Election Day. But right now, what is your message to what might be the 70% of eligible New York voters who just won't be voting? And who, you know, for a variety of reasons, what is your message to those folks on why they should take the time to vote for Curtis Sliwa between now and, of course, on Election Day?
Well, because they know things are bad now, they'll just get worse if they were to choose Zohran Mamdani or if they were to choose Andrew Cuomo. And they all know me. See, everybody knows Curtis Sliwa. It's like that TV program, Everybody Loves Raymond. Everybody loves Curtis. They all have a Curtis Lee or a Guardian Angel story. And my job in the waning days now, with 8 days left, is to convince them, if you like me, you vote for me. Because they don't like Cuomo. And they're afraid of Zohar Mamdani. So it gives them sort of like, remember Monty Hall, let's make a deal. You got 3 doors. The guy you like, the guy you hate, or the guy you're afraid of. It's an answer. Select the guy you love.
Well, that's right. And
okay,
right.
You're the door then, Curtis.
Yeah.
And you keep going.
Thank you, Rudy. And thank you for the airtime and to all your followers all over the country.
No, we're going to keep going. Right.
Thank you.
All right. God bless you. God bless Curtis. So now we want all of you to go over to
Lindell
TV to see Dr. Maria, and we're going to say a prayer for the people of Israel, and we're going to say a prayer for the people of Ukraine who are still being killed by Putin. We're going to pray for the people of Iran who are getting murdered at record rates. And we're going to pray, of course, for the United States and for the president, that he continues to have the strength. And let's pray that he's safe. Right. Let's pray that he's safe in this age that we live in. And maybe that's the most important prayer. So we'll see you tomorrow night. God bless America. Where did you get that?
Here in New York to announce a historic arrest across a wide-sweeping criminal enterprise that envelops both the NBA and La Casa Nostra. The men and women up here standing with me represent a small portion of the leadership team that brought profound justice in an era that needed it more than any. I'll just highlight some of the details in the case and the FBI work, and then you'll hear from the others. But as you now know, individuals such as Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier were taken into custody today, former, current NBA players and coaches. What you don't know is that this is an illegal gambling operation and sports rigging operation that spanned the course of years. The FBI led a coordinated takedown across 11 states to arrest over 30 individuals today responsible for this case, which is very much ongoing. Not only did we crack into the fraud that these perpetrators committed on the grand stage of the NBA, but we also entered and executed a system of justice against La Casa Nostra to include the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchesi crime families. And you'll hear more about those details today. The charges and the arrests that were taken down across this country range from wire fraud, money laundering, extortion, robbery, illegal gambling. This FBI will leave no room for any perpetrator of crime across this country. You hear a lot about our work of defending the homeland and crushing violent crime. Well, this work is also representative of a colossal portion of the FBI's mandate to keep America safe and to keep our entertainment industry fair and secure. The men and women that are standing up here today worked tireless hours, days, months, and years. And the fraud is mind-boggling.
It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze,